And hello, I'm Mac, or the Gray Skeptic. I'm here with Steve McRae for an episode of Agnostic Flashbacks to talk about Steve McRae's previous religion of Mormonism. Say hi, Steve. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Steve McRae from the Non Sequitur Show, and I have another channel called the Steve McRae. Well, that's just the name of the channel. Steve McRae is my own personal channel, and then I run the Great Debate Community channel. I'm the owner of the Great Debate Community on G+, and we just talk about things dealing with philosophy, science, religion, controversial stuff. People that just want to talk about stuff. We talk a lot, basically.
And they're all good channels. I've taken a peek at all of them, and I'm a big fan. So if you guys have not subscribed yet, I don't know why you're subscribed to me and not him. So go take care of that problem. Great. So we're going to go over Mormonism tonight. And that's one that I don't know a super lot about, really. I know a couple fun talking points, but really this is going to be a nice little learning experience for me. So Steve, can you first tell us what made you enter that religion?
Well, I had a lot of friends who were Mormon when I was growing up. I had moved from the Northridge area to Buena Park, California, and my neighbors that I went to school with since probably second or third grade, give or take, were LDS. And I spent a lot of time over there, and I was involved in the Boy Scouts and would kind of go to church with them every so often. But it wasn't really till probably my teen years that I would go more often, but mostly because I found like the LDS girls to be cute. And so I was like, okay, you know what? I could dig this. I mean, I'd been to other groups as well. I went to this Christian type organization, and it just a little more radicalized than I would have liked, even though I really wasn't ever a believer during those times. I just went for the social aspect, right? And they would always try to get you to, join or convert or, save your soul kind of thing. And I'm like, well, I'm not really down for this kind of stuff. I just like playing the games and, being socialized. And they were okay with that. They would fellowship people like that. The Christian group and also the Mormon group, by the way. Yes, Mormons are Christian.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't until later on I actually got more interested in what they actually believed. And they were, accommodating and answered my questions when it came to that. Because growing up, again, really wasn't indoctrinated in any kind of religion. So I really didn't know what questions to ask in regards to what a person's faith was. I just knew that what I was being told by most people didn't make much sense to me. I never bought into the younger creationism stuff. I never quite understood a lot of this, oh, well, you have to believe to be saved kind of thing. I'm like, well, why? So when I got involved with the LDS church, that wasn't the approach they took. It wasn't like you have to become Mormon to be saved. And maybe that's one of the reasons why I was like, yeah, that's a little more moderate approach than I've seen from some of the other aggressive evangelistic groups that I had associated with.
Gotcha. And just to point out for anyone who doesn't know, you said LDS group. That's a Church of Latter-day Saints, right?
Yep, Latter-day Saints. Yep, Mormon Church of Latter-day Saints. Yep.
Yeah, same thing. And okay, so do you mind if I ask how old were you around the time you got involved with the group?
16 or 17, I guess. Around that time, that's when I started like going to the church more often. I mean, it wasn't until I actually met a specific Mormon girl that I actually started taking the missionary lessons.
Okay, cool. So I guess skipping far ahead, because we'll get into the middle of it throughout the rest of this. What made you leave it?
Well, I mean, after I joined the church, and we'll get into more reasons why I joined. But when after I joined the church, about a year later, I joined the military, and I went in the military young at 17. People may know by now I went in as a Navy. I was a nuclear propulsion person with the military, top military program in the world. I think it is. And when you are separated from any kind of religion things, like especially when you're new to a religion, there's not that foundation anymore. You don't have that support. And so I kind of like just fell away from it as time progressed. And then as I got more on YouTube 5 years ago, I would watch a lot of videos and I would leave a lot of comments all over the place. And those comments became very popular and kind of led me to actually start my own channel back when. But a lot of things I would be seeing kind of question me in a way that, okay, what is it I'm actually believing here, and why are my reasons to believe it? Even my justificatory reasons for believing what I did can only get me so far. I still have some propensity to want to think there's some kind of maybe supernatural per se, because my own personal experiences, but that doesn't get me to a deity any longer. And what really was the final nail in the straw was back even before YouTube, where I think was the tipping point where I started going down, was when they had California Prop 8, and I think was it 2008? Was that what it was? When was California Prop 8? I don't remember. But basically, the LDS Church was funding the proposition in California to be against gay marriage. And I'm a very staunch secularist when it comes to separation of church and state. And I don't think they had any business doing that. And then when I got more reading up into some of the projects they were involved in, like the Evergreen Project, which was a reparative type therapy to supposedly convert gay to heterosexual, it doesn't work. It's just pseudoscience. And at that point, I'm like, why would a church, that purports to be the restored gospel, the true church, be making these kind of horrific things? And I just couldn't support that any longer.
Yeah, and I can relate on why not. But okay, so I guess the rest of the questions that I have right now are in the meat of this. So, mind if we go ahead and get started with the Agnostic Flashback? Oh, yeah, actually, go ahead. Yeah. That's another thing that I want to touch base on, in case anyone doesn't know who you are specifically, is I usually call this Atheist Flashbacks. So this one is a special edition. It's Agnostic Flashback. And would you like to tell me why?
It's special just for me. How I feel special. You. Thank
you. because from what I know of you, you are an atheist in the colloquial sense, but you don't really adhere by that. You go more philosophically.
Right. I reject most colloquial definitions when it comes to certain topics, because just like in science, I like to be consistent. And I love science, as everybody knows. I was involved in science all my life. And when people use certain words when they're talking about science or scientific topics, they mean certain things. Like, we don't let a creationist get away with saying evolution is just change, right? Or we don't let a creationist get away with saying things like a theory just means guess, even though those are colloquial definitions. So I try to be consistent. And so I apply that same consistency to philosophy, such that I do not hold to the colloquial definition of atheism. I think it has some issues. I think it is vague. And I think that the stronger definition, the more what's called sensu stricto, vice sensu lato definition, is more precise. And so I much rather go by more formal philosophical definitions, which would clearly place me under agnosticism and not atheism.
Right. And atheism and agnosticism are both philosophical terms, right?
Yeah, and agnosticism, atheism, theism, these are all philosophical terms. And even theology in itself deals with theological, philosophical claims. And so when people talk about the God concept, the God claim, they're in the realm of theology, they're in the realm of philosophy. And I think people make an extreme category error when they start diving into scientism. And I don't mean like the way the creationists mean scientism, not the flat earth scientism. There is actually a term, scientism. It does mean something. It actually means the inappropriate use of the scientific method where it's not supposed to be applied. And science, even though it came from natural philosophy, but it isn't supposed to address the God claim. That's what science explicitly tries not to do. Science wants to avoid that. It adheres to methodological naturalism and says you can never posit a supernatural causation for an observed observation. And so when people say, well, the only way it can be determined if God exists or not is through science, I personally think that's a tremendous category error.
I agree. And yeah, well, thank you for the explanation. Because I understand it. I've watched your content enough, but I don't think I could say it like you.
At least somebody watches my shit. Awesome.
No, well, I mean, I'd like to say, like, before I started watching stuff with you and Shannon Q and the great debate community around December, I had kind of like given up on philosophy. I'm just like, I don't think it's really worth anything, because I had mostly just seen philosophy used with trolls. So you can see how just like, oh, this is crap, I want to stay away from it. But then when I listened to you more, I had more of an appreciation for it. So since then, I've picked up a couple philosophy books that I haven't dove into yet, but I do respect the practice now, or the information.
Yeah, and I try to relate things very basally, right? I mean, I understand these things are very difficult concepts sometimes. Philosophy is not an easy topic. Matter of fact, 4 years ago, I was completely philosophically dumbass, to say the least. And it wasn't until I was challenged. And one of the things that challenged me is what you mentioned, people, these trolls using philosophy incorrectly, using it as a weapon. And I understand that people do use philosophy sometimes as a weapon. I mean, reductio ad absurdum, or Socratic method, but it's not meant to put somebody down. It's meant to edify. And these people would come in and they would run presuppositional argumentation, right? And I'm sure you've watched these presuppositionalists go at it, and it's just crap. And when they first got on the scene, people didn't know how to handle that. They didn't know how to properly address their points. And once people started learning that, including myself, a lot of us just really got more into philosophy because we really felt this is a really good way to show why this type of apologetics is bullshit. And you don't see much of a precept around YouTube anymore, right?
Right.
It's gone down tremendously.
Yeah, especially in our group, the great debate community. So if anyone has not checked out Steve McRae's channel yet, the Great Debate Community, or the Non Sequitur Show, or just his channel, Steve McRae, if you like what he's talking about now, you'll love his channels. So go check them out. I'm going to check the live chat real quick, because if I don't every now and then, I will completely forget.
Yeah. Well, can I say hi to a few people? Like Naja, Pickle Pig.
Absolutely.
Spooky. We got Spooky.
We have Reese.
We have Reese. Yeah. Reese says the only reason I watch Steve's stuff is because he used to live in the same city as me. Please, Reese.
Well, hi, live chat. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and tag me. I might not see it right away because you guys know how I am, but I will try to keep an eye on the live chat. Steve, you are a Mormon again.
I'm not Mormon again. No.
No way.
No, I mean, and look, I'm not one of those people to rip on the LDS Church, right? And I actually had somebody on just recently. They were called, what was his name? Oh, please forgive me. He's an ex-Mormon, and I can't remember his name. It was just on the Non Sequitur channel. Somebody could remind me if they watched it. But he was very articulate. He knew a lot about the LDS theology, and he was correct about what he said. But that was a rarity, because a lot of people that I see on the internet, they throw out a lot of claims against Mormonism when they clearly have never been to a Mormon church, and they're just being secondary redactors and basically going on what they've ever heard from other people. And it's different when you've actually been a member or go to the Mormon church like this person did. He knew the theology and he was correct in what he was enunciating. But the problem was when other people will just throw stuff out there, and then you try to correct them, and then they're saying, well, you're just defending LDS because you used to be LDS. I'm like, no, I'm defending LDS because what you're saying about them is incorrect, just like I would any other position. And even he recognized that he sees a lot of that. So I think the people that go out of the way to disparage a particular religion just because they don't understand it isn't the way to go. It's not the effective thing to do, because, I hear this like, there's Mormons believe that, magic underwear prevents them from getting, shot. And I'm like, no Mormon thinks that. That's just freaking retarded, but I hear it quite often, right? Oh, they wear these magic underwear so they, are bulletproof. Oh, it's like, shut up. That's stupid.
That's stupid, but that would be really cool.
It would be awesome. Yeah, no, it would be totally cool. But that's not what they wear them for. They wear them to remind them of a covenant that they have made. Yeah. So, I mean, I understand the symbolism, but to me, it's no different than wearing a cross, right? I'm not a fan of the crucifix. I would never wear one. But, I understand the symbolism that people use it for. And that's all it is symbolism. It doesn't mean that people wearing a crucifix. Now, actually, there are some people who think that crucifix may give them some magical shield, maybe. But that's rare.
Yeah. All right. Well, the first question I like to ask in these kind of streams is, as a Mormon, do you drink?
Well, I'm drinking coffee right now. Just
Do you
coffee.
drink out? Do you drink alcohol?
Uh, yes. I like my brandy. I like my wine. I like my.
I'm drinking
But I don't
brandy.
drink that much. I have a bad stomach, and so I can't really drink exceptional amount of alcohol. I will occasionally indulge and have what's called a rum and coke night on my main channel, and which is really fun. We had one with Mr. Atheist and Eric from Talk Heathens the other night. Blast. But it's rare,
It was
and I
like
have
four
to
and a half
recuperate.
hours, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a remember my rum and coke nights run a long time, and it's a lot of alcohol induced diatribe, but they're fun. Yeah.
They are. I've seen a couple of them. I didn't catch the last one because I was at work all night. But cool. All right. So so do most Mormons drink alcohol?
No, Mormons they have what's called the word of wisdom, which precludes them from drinking certain things. They abstain from drinking things with caffeine, any kind of alcohol. They believe that it's harmful to the body and that the body's a temple, which I really don't have a problem with. I mean, that's if that's like something that some people believe. I don't care. I don't see that be something people should mock. If a person doesn't want to drink because they think it's bad for them and they don't want to drink caffeine, I'm okay with that. They usually drink some kind of like diet ginger ale with non-caffeinated or high C. But yeah, most Mormons, if they're going to be active, they can't drink alcohol.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, high C is not super good for them anyways. But I see your point because yeah, that's one of those things where like I'm an anti-theist, but I don't think like it's not that I think every single thing that religion does is harmful. It's just that I think it's a it's a net negative. But things like that, not wanting to drink alcohol or even not um, seeing R-rated movies isn't really the worst thing. But but yeah, actually, I'd like to talk first about more restrictions that Mormons have. So I have heard, because I do have a few Mormon friends across the country, that they can't watch R-rated movies. Is that like something across the board that they do?
Not being able to watch R-rated movies.
Yeah, they stay
Yeah,
away.
they generally avoid. Yeah, they think again they want to maintain themselves in a purity type situation, and they think R-rated movies um, kind of are not very spiritual, so
Mhm.
they don't watch any of that kind of stuff.
Okay. Um, I know they have their magic underwear. Is there anything else you can let us know about that that you haven't gone over?
Well, like I said, there's nothing magical about the
Right.
underwear. It's a disparaging comment, obviously, and I know you do it in jest, but other
Yeah.
people don't do it in jest, and they do think that it's magical. There's no Mormon that I've ever met that thinks that the temple garments are magical in any way. They're just, like I said, it's a symbolic covenant reminder. That's all. But yeah, I never wore the temple garments. I was an elder, so I did have the Melchizedek priesthood, but I never went through the temple or never received my endowments. Never went on a mission, anything like that.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I've seen a lot of R-rated movies, by the way.
You have a favorite R-rated movie?
Oh God.
Hardest question of the night. I didn't mean
Wow.
to put
Yeah,
you on
I
the
don't know.
spot.
I have to think. I have a lot of movies I like, but I don't know the rating. You know, like my favorite movie of all time is Serenity, but that wasn't R, was it?
Ah,
I don't
I don't
remember.
think so. Is that the one that's based off that the series?
The Firefly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I've never watched it. I've always heard good things. I even like borrowed
Great
it at
movie.
one point, but I never watched it.
Oh, it's an amazing movie.
Hmm. I'll put that on my list. All right. Well, I'd like to get into more of the Mormon beliefs, and I'm not familiar at all with the Book of Mormon. So if you could give us a little bit of light on that, that would be
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, and by the way, I am no Mormon expert by any means. I do not. I mean, I've read the Book of Mormon a couple times, but it's been so many years ago, right? So I'm not a person to go to for Mormon information by any means. But basically, the Book of Mormon is a story of a couple tribes that have left Israel, middle the Arabic countries, right? Mesopotamian region,
Okay.
and at different times came over to the Americans middle, somewhere near Central America, near Chichen Itza, Yucatan Peninsula, Guatemala. There was two different tribes that came over, especially the Jaronites and the Neophytes. And the Book of Mormon is basically a story of how these cultures grew and flourished, and then became iniquitous and fell away from God and became destroyed. The narrative is that these were the precursors to various tribes in Central America, such as the Olmecs, the Incans from down in Peru, the Toltecs and the Mayans. And then occasionally some would migrate up, and those became the North American Indian. And so when Joseph Smith found the plates, he found them in North America because they were buried by Moroni, which was the angel that led Smith to find the gold tablets.
Gotcha. Okay. And then what was on those gold tablets?
A lot of it was their history. Obviously, they recorded their trials and tribulations and coming over to the Americans and how they lived down there. And so supposedly a lot of it was part of the Old Testament because they had brought the Old Testament with them. So the gold plates had a combined record of various tribes at various times and the Old Testament in what was called Reformed Egyptian, they called it.
Oh, okay. All right, then. How big is the Book of Mormon? Because I don't know how.
It's pretty good size. I mean, it's not like it's huge. It's not like the biblical size, but I mean, it's about that big. But it's I mean, like I said, I've read it a couple of times, and even as a Mormon, it's a boring read. I'm not going to front. I think it is a boring read. It's very repetitive. I think that maybe one or two chapters I thought had anything of really consequence or interest. Alma is one of the chapters in there. I find something called a chiasmus is in Alma, which is a structured form of literary poetry that you find in Old Testament and you find it in Semitic cultures. And there's actually a very large chiasmus in Alma that I thought was, is very interesting. I mean, why would there be a chiasmic poem in Alma? Because when the Book of Mormon was written, chiasms weren't even really known of. So I find that to be interesting, but I like that kind of structure. I like that, at least it's find it is an interesting thing to read, going, hey, this is a very cool poetic structure. But the book itself, it's just the same thing over and over and over again about the Neophytes and the Lamanites having battles and the Lamanites falling away and becoming this evil, race and bloodthirsty. And it doesn't really captivate my attention.
Gotcha. I am very unfamiliar with the tribes you were naming and the
Olmecs. Those are real tribes. The Olmecs, the Toltecs, the Mayans, the Incans. Those are actually real tribes. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah.
I couldn't find any correlation between them and the old world. I think that the archaeological evidence for LDS is just not there.
Gotcha. Okay. And that's not necessarily anything new, like from biblical things either. There's a lot of things we're missing, like archaeologically.
Quite a bit. And I mean, even with DNA and other things. See, I mean, I have people who know me know that I really do try to be objective. I really try to be open-minded and fair-minded. But I have to apply that across the board. And so if I objectively look at the claims being made by the archaeological evidence by the LDS, I don't see it there. And I don't know, I don't see the apologetics working. And, even when I asked Dr. Maggie Bryson, who's an Egyptologist, about, the Reformed Egyptian, there's just no such thing. It clearly was, the Book of Abraham is one of the four things that the LDS have as scripture. It clearly was a book of the dead, an Egyptian book of the dead. And Smith was translated it to be something completely unintelligible, even in relating it to Mormon theology. And I don't see any correlation between that whatsoever.
So are you saying it's a non sequitur?
It is a non sequitur. And by the way, hey, another freaking atheist.
Oh,
is that him in here?
Yeah, that's him. Yeah. I like to have Don here. He helps me keep track of my live chats.
Hi, Steve. Hi, Mac.
Hey, buddy. How you been?
Pretty good. How are you?
Sweet. I'm good.
Good. I just sit in the corner nice and quiet and collect questions from the chat, and towards the end I'll I'll tell you what the chat's asking you if you don't get to them through the stream.
Gotcha. I saw Unholy Mole jumped in here too. So, hello, Unholy Mole. All right. Oh, and Glowjay's back. He's my reoccurring Christian friend who watches. So, all right. Back on track. Back to like what the Book of Mormon is. So is it more or less just its own entity of like information as far as biblical books go? Because it doesn't.
It is.
Okay.
Well, it's another testament. They call it another testament of Jesus Christ, right? It's supposed to be part of the, in addition to the Old Testament and the New Testament, it's supposed to be another book that testifies to the divinity of Christ.
Okay. Is it more set before or after New Testament then?
Some before and some after.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough. I'm trying to.
Well, I can tell you some of the things that
aren't
aren't in it. People have some weird misconceptions about the Book of Mormon, right? And this is one of those things where, again, where I listen to some video and go, God, they clearly either have not read the Book of Mormon or they just read something on a webpage, right? Because it's not in there, right? And I've had this discussion with like G-Man, right? Because G-Man will bitch about Mormonism, and then I'm like, okay, do you tell me what chapter that's in the Book of Mormon? And he never been able to provide me a scripture of it because it's not in there, right?
Right.
And so, for example, like people say that like the Book of Mormon says that Jesus and Lucifer are brothers, right? Guess what? It's not in the Book of Mormon. There's other places that does exist, yes, but it's not in the Book of Mormon. And if you're at least going to cite something about Elder's theology, get the citation right? Because it's not in the Book of Mormon. It doesn't mention any of that.
Right. And a lot of people say, and I know you said this right at the beginning of the stream, that Mormonism isn't Christianity, but it
is Christianity. Oh no, oh, absolutely, it's Christian. Yeah, Mormons are Christians. I mean, I will go down swinging on that one, and even the guy that I had on the other day who was an ex-Mormon, he even was like, yes, of course they're Christians. I mean, I think you have to be like so far fringed from reality to think that Mormons are not Christians. I mean, these are the same people that don't think Catholics are Christians. Right, and yet they'll use them for demographics, right? They'll be like, "Oh, Christianity is a fast-growing thing," and then they'll include Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Catholics. But when you ask them, "Oh, well, are any of those Christians?" They're like, "Oh, no, none of them are Christians." It's like really double standard here, guys. Yeah, I mean, they believe in Christ. I mean, they're Christians for God's sake.
Exactly. Yeah, they are, and because I heard that. I think the last time I heard that was when you were talking to G-Man, and I was like, no, they're definitely Christians.
Yeah, definitely Christians.
Like, I mean, I don't know much about. I'm sorry.
He's one of those fringe people that just, he asserts his own positions. He doesn't give a shit about facts.
No. He definitely likes to push his own narrative, and like mostly just tries to trap you in any kind of argument.
Yeah, you see how well that works out for him.
not well. Yeah. And even if he feels like he's done it, it's just I'm just sitting here like, oh God, no.
He does. He thinks he actually gets a leg up, and I'm like, yeah, really? That's so cute. It's so adorable.
It's fun. All right. So Mormons have the Book of Mormon, but they also read the Bible, right? Like, do they read like the King James version or?
Yeah, King James.
Okay. So I like to go through more or less from the beginning towards the end, touching on different hot topics of the Bible, and see what they take literally and what they take metaphorically.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing is like obviously like younger creationists. Do they take the 6-day creation?
Officially, no. Most of the Mormons are not young Earth creationism. There are a few I've heard. I've never met one, to be honest with you, but I have heard that there are a few. There is a scripture in Doctrine and Covenants that talks about 7,000 years, but it's generally interpreted by the church not to mean that the Earth is 7,000 years. But they do accept, from most of what I've seen, evolution. They do accept the age of the Earth. However, there's small inconsistencies that I've noticed. Like, for example, they do accept there was a Garden of Eden, but they placed the Garden of Eden in Jacksonville, Missouri.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of bizarre. But I mean, I don't accept there was a Garden of Eden because it makes no sense to me genetically, right? I mean, we did not come from just of two people. A population size of our own that we have now did not come with this much diversity from Adam and Eve. And the Adam and Eve narrative really does fit in more into the young Earth narrative because they existed supposedly only like 7,000 years ago. So I'm not sure how that fits in. I've tried to look that up in the Mormon theology. I really can't find much detail on it. They don't really have any specificity on it, right? But they just say that basically they don't accept a young Earth, and they accept science. So they kind of ambivalent on it, I guess.
Right. And from what I remember in Genesis, even Genesis doesn't back up that they were really the only people on the earth. I think in like the fourth or fifth day, it says that God makes like piece of the field or something like that, and then man, and then they go on, and then he makes man again later.
Yeah.
Like he makes the man, Adam, and then even
you're talking about pre-Adamic.
I'm sorry,
pre-Adamic race. You talking about a pre-Adamic race?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then later on, I think in like the next 8 to 9 chapters, they mention other tribes that.
Oh yeah, I mean, they're Adam and Eve's kids married people from other tribes. So where do they come from? But I mean, if you want somebody who knows about the Bible, I mean, we got like Godless Iowan in the live chat. That dude, damn, he knows his shit. I mean,
he does.
Cold does he know his stuff? I'd rather go to him than Google for half this stuff. I'll just ask him. So I mean, those kind of technical questions would be much more up his alley than mine. So I give a nod out to him.
Oh yeah, and he definitely deserves it. He knows his shit. He was the first one to do an atheist flashback. He was the first one that I had a live stream with. And that's actually the first time he showed his face, which was fun.
Yeah, he was like a Pentecostal minister for like a couple decades or something like that, wasn't he?
Yeah. So I thought that'd be a fun one to start with. And we were both pretty small when we did that too. But yeah.
Now he's blowing the fuck up, hasn't he?
Yeah, yes.
He's like playing in the big leagues now. I don't know if I can even be on his channel any longer. I'm not big enough to be on his channel.
I don't know about that. You were there last week.
Yeah, I was slumming. No, I love his channel. I love it. The guy. I know. I don't know how much you allow for some divergence from the actual topic of discussion, but he has these things called the weekend video things that he does, where he puts out like the best videos of the week, and it's something to look forward to. It is really a novelty type thing that he has for his blog. I know a lot of people from different communities that actually go and read that blog and actually watch the videos he recommends. I think it's going to be a huge niche for him, and I'm honored that he actually puts our videos on there, and he's very fair and objective. And like I was on there, well, technically I was on there 3 times, 2 of them from the Non Sequitur channel, and then once because I did a stream with him on his own channel, and it was exceptionally good. I did a discussion with God is Not Good, and we had a great time. I thought it was very productive, very good dialectic, and he put that on there. So I appreciate that from the Goddess Island. I think it's going to be a big thing, his blog.
Yeah, I think so as well. I've seen that, and I've made it on there a couple times with I think my Easter video, and then one other one. And it's a really good blog. It really helped me find other channels of people in the community. Exactly. And I like that he always does the follow Fridays, under sub Saturdays, all those hashtags that he uses.
He's a hell of a PR person, isn't he?
Yeah, he really is. He really is.
I gotta tell you, I'm not just trying to stroke his ego or suck him off or anything, but the guy's got PR skills.
He really does.
Yeah,
he really does. And I don't know if he's here right now, but he'd. I see Mrs. Snarky. I see the Godless Iowan. So he is definitely sucking this up right now. Great. But yeah, absolutely. If someone hasn't seen Godless Iowa's channel, they should definitely check out the Godless Iowa's channel. He has a ton of live streams. He has really great content, and they should also check out his blog because he really looks out for the entire community. He's really great to have around.
Yeah, and by the way, we need to get him a page on the Great Debate Community Wiki. So Goddess Eye, when you get a chance, head over to the Great Debate Community Wiki and make a page for yourself. I'll do the the member stuff as far as like the icon or any of the info box if you don't know how to do it. If not, we use the member info box. If you want to set it up yourself, just use that. But write a little blog about yourself. The rule is the rule of thumb is it has to be like 90% factual, 10% satirical, but it still has to be truthful. Yeah, I don't want unless it's completely obviously it's totally made up because it's satirical. But we don't want somebody's like actual bio so much as they're just a fun thing. So make a page for yourself. Everybody else is welcome to too. Mrs. Snarky, Pickle Pig, all you guys go to Wiki and make a fucking page for yourself. Oh, can I curse on here? I didn't even ask. I'm so sorry.
Okay. That's awesome.
Okay.
Cool.
And you too, by the way. You have
yeah,
do you have a page? You don't have a page yet?
I know I've joined on a G plus, but I don't think I've made.
You haven't made a page for yourself on Wiki. Okay.
I don't think so. I didn't know. Good. I haven't. I don't. I didn't like dive into everything that I could do with it yet. So I need to like sit down and make time for it. So, but yeah,
make pages for yourself, guys. Go ahead.
Cool. We'll do. All right.
And also, you can link back to your channels too, obviously. So use it for promotional if you want. Hey, this is my Wiki page, and you can use that to promote your actual channel and videos. Absolutely.
That's a good idea. I think I will take that
that's
idea.
why I thought of it.
Use it.
That's why I set it up.
All these good ideas.
Believe it or not, Kyle and I have a lot of good ideas. I know a lot of people think it's kind of weird that we actually brainstorm a lot of things, and of course, Kyle is a master at graphics and stuff like that.
Oh,
but we do every so often just go, what would it be like to have this discussion? Must happen.
I can see that. I like every now and then I'm just like, wow, how did they even come up with this? And then sometimes it turns into really a dumpster fire.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We're like, what could be the biggest dumpster fire out there? Yes.
Yes.
Hey, I tell you what though, I am proud of the fact that we set out certain shows to have dumpster fires, and when they come to fruition, I am proud. It's like a baby birthing. It's like giving a birth to a baby. It's like, yes, this went exactly how we wanted it. And nothing's planned on those dumpster fires. We don't go in saying, we're going to do this or that. It is all spontaneous. None of this stuff's scripted. And that's the pinnacle of success is when you plan to have a dumpster fire and it organically happens, right?
Have you ever seen the movie The Producers?
Yeah, I like the original better. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was Tony Curtis, and is that what it was?
I haven't seen the original. I want to see the original, but I heard the guy who played the director in the newer one, he was one of the original people, wasn't he?
Who was in the now you got me looking it up. This is where we have Google.
Yes.
1967 film. You see, there was Gene Wilder. Yeah, I remember Gene Wilder. Written by Mel Brooks.
Okay, yeah.
And where do I think Tony Curtis from? I don't know. A lot of times I've seen the movie, but I'm a huge Mel Brooks fan. Oh my God, is he freaking hilarious?
Yeah, he's really great. For anyone who hasn't seen that movie, check it out. It's basically they just try to come up with the biggest dumpster fire of a Broadway play.
Yep. And succeed.
And it succeed, yeah. And they succeeded, so they get in trouble because they didn't have enough money to pay off the backers. But anyways, it always seems to work out pretty well for Kyle and Steve when they plan a dumpster fire. So far.
So far. Oh, we got don't think we don't get backlash, man, dude. I mean, we got controversial people coming on nowadays. I mean, obviously we got Sargon of Akkad coming on, and we're already feeling the backlash for that, right? We have people already bitching on us on Facebook. These people that are self-proclaimed social justice warriors going, "Why are you giving him a platform?" It's like, well, why not? I don't have anything against Sargon. I actually think he's quite interesting. I may agree with him on some things and totally disagree with him on other things, but he has a right to say what he says, and he does a good job at it. So
yeah, absolutely, and that's how I like to look at things too. It's just like it's free speech. That's that's
exactly.
Yeah, that's what it's all for. So if you don't like it, then don't listen or just go ahead and disagree. I mean, that's what the chat's for too, to be like, you're garbage. And that's
Yeah,
fine.
no, and
But he
that's
can keep
fine. Dude,
talking.
we have a policy. We tend to pin the worst comment on our videos, right? If you criticize the video and it's a legit criticism or whatever, even if it's not, even if it's just like a dumpster fire, we tend to pin that one, right? Because they're hilarious. I realized a while back, and you guys can take this to heart if you think it's good advice, but I think the most successful YouTube channels have about 80%, support and about 20% people that hate you. If you can get to that happy medium where you have, people that like and dislike you, I think that's optimal, because you're never going to get 100% people that watch your shit and like it. This is not going to happen. So you might as well have a good 10 or 20% that will at least give criticism to you, whether something be productive or not, but something that's at least entertaining, right? Because some of the comments, they're freaking hilarious, man.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you guys get some doozies. And I just have to say, especially the flat earthers. But
Oh God, are they nuts?
oh jeez.
Well, yeah, be careful, because I come over here and they're still like spamming your shit too, man.
Yeah. Well, hey, it'll get me more views.
That's right. That's exactly. See, you get it, right?
Yeah, it's fine.
I remember like one of these videos, and I hope Kyle doesn't get mad at this. He shouldn't. But like, we had one video that got a lot of thumbs down because it was flat earth stuff. And Kyle, he likes to have accolades, and I get that. He does a brilliant job, and we like to have thumbs up. We have about 86% average right now. Really good.
Yeah.
But one video had a lot of thumbs down because flat earthers came over, and I'm like, dude, it doesn't freaking matter whether it's thumbs up or thumbs down. It's a view. It goes to the analytics. I couldn't give a shit if they were all thumbs down. When you have 20,000, 30,000 people watching a video and they're all thumbs down, it's still an analytics, because it doesn't mean that the video was bad, because people know by now, hopefully, that Non Sequitur doesn't have a bad episode. And so they might even want to go watch, why is this video all thumbs down? Let's check it out, right?
Yeah.
So
you
I
could
don't
just name it
know.
dumpster fire again. And
Yeah, exactly.
more people will click on it. Wow, this was trash. I gotta finish it, but wow.
Yeah. Well, we get feedback from that if that's the case. Be like, don't ever do that again, right? Because we've had some bad matchups where even we went, yeah, this was not a good idea, but we still managed to pull it out.
Yeah. I don't think you guys have had like a bad show yet. I think they're all good. And I haven't watched every single one, but from what I've seen, it's a good show.
We appreciate that.
So jumping back on topic, so you said most Mormons aren't young Earth creationists. So the next thing I'd like to ask is, how about world flood? Do they believe in the narrative of Noah's Ark?
No, they don't believe in a global flood.
Gotcha. What are they?
It's not that
what
I've
are they
ever
taking
seen.
Okay.
Metaphorical.
Definitely metaphorical.
Yeah.
What do they think is metaphorical for?
Well, that's a good question. I actually have no idea. I mean, probably some kind of like, God, just showing that God should be somebody that's feared in rebirth. I don't know. I never really got that much into exploring how they interpret certain things from the Bible. Maybe that's something I should look up. I'm kind of curious, because I've never met a Mormon that actually does believe in the Noah's Ark. I do have friends that are still LDS. I don't talk to them that often, but I've known them all my life. Even the friends that actually got me involved in the church, we never really discussed it much. Maybe like decades ago, maybe, but I never really asked them too many questions. But maybe I should. Maybe I should, because I honestly have no idea how they look at Noah's Ark.
Okay. And then next would be the story of Moses and the Exodus.
Yeah, I think they do think the Exodus happened. But again, as far as I know, it's not scripture. The research I've done, and I hate to use the word research because it's not really research at all. I'm using it very, very liberally. The minor investigation I've done the Exodus kind of seems to be there was no Exodus. I don't really see any real evidence for it, at least no documentation. Now, I know there's a few people that have provided some sources, like General Han Solo has some evidence that he thinks existed for the evidence, but if it certainly wasn't the mass scale that the Bible has it as, right? And for the length that they were wandering in the desert and stuff like that.
Yeah, because I think I heard somewhere that if they just counted the men, and had them go like single file, like 2 feet between them, before the last one left, the first one would get to the promised land. Is that
and there was no
something like
evidence of
that?
yeah, something like that. And there's just there's no, they didn't leave behind anything.
Right. Yeah.
So
It's definitely odd, like when you look at it that way.
and even look at, and even if it was the case, I would just put that under historical content, right? Because I
Yeah.
mean, the Bible is a history book. It's a masterful piece of literature if you take it as such. But the stories in it, yeah, I don't believe some of the stories in it. I never believed Noah's Ark, and I never believed um, the flood. Now, the Garden of Eden, yeah, I think I kind of did believe that at one time, but couldn't get into the flood thing because I always liked science, and I was like, even back when I was like, this doesn't jive what I know about science, even back then. So,
Yeah. One of my favorite um, people to listen to, or types of people to listen to, even. I forget his first name. Diamati. He's been on you guys' channel.
Steve Diamati.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He's an atheist Bible scholar,
Mhm.
and I think that's so fascinating. And he knows not
He's
only
brilliant.
like, yeah, and he doesn't only know like the narrative. He doesn't just know the story like written in English. He knows it in context, and it's brilliant. It's really cool. I'd really like to have someone like that on my channel sometime and ask them like basically these same questions, but like what does the manuscript say? Because like from what I've heard, even from my own religion, is that the manuscripts don't support a young Earth kind of creation. Like it's um, there's more years unaccounted for in Genesis. So I'd really like to ask it like a real scholar
Yeah,
questions like
I
that.
don't think that even they thought that the Earth was young back then. I don't think it was an actual, really a big thing until Bishop Ussher came along and tried to do the chronology based upon geological things in the Bible. But even then, that has huge problems because, from what I understand, with the genealogy of the Bible, it not necessarily means one generation to the next generation. There could have been one generation skipped a whole bunch and then begat somebody. It wasn't like each step was recorded, from what I understand. And even then, you don't based upon the history of the Earth, the age of the Earth, on genealogy, right? Because I know somebody who does. I know somebody, excuse me, who actually, his reasoning is this: the earth cannot be millions of years old because of the genealogical record in the Bible. And I'm like, that makes no sense to me. So the genealogical record, you think, supersedes the scientific evidence? That's irrational.
Yeah, it's like, do you think that just people existed and then God was like, shit, I need to put them somewhere, and then, like through a globe or a flat Earth there or something? Or,
Yeah, I mean, I
doesn't
do think
quite.
that a lot of them probably were flat earthers. I don't have a problem with the Bible having a flat earth position. I don't think that everybody back then was round earth. I think that that was a lot of people that wrote in the Bible that probably did believe in a flat earth with the firmament and the Gehenna and Sheol or whatever. But that's okay. I mean, so what? They had a lot of misconceptions in the Bible. Let's be realistic here. I mean, they thought that if you mated animals next to these reeds next to a river, they would have stripes. I mean, they didn't know anything about genetics. So,
Yeah.
And by the way, I will say I know there's a lot of streams going right now, and if you guys are watching this, I do appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, I also
so-
appreciate it. Yeah, I know Shannon's live right now. I'm not sure who else.
Side Strike.
I think. Oh, Side Strike. Okay.
And a couple other people I won't get into.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm glad the Godless.
I can tell you this though.
Yeah.
The one of the people that claims to be one of the big wigs inside is the intelligent design movement and stuff like that. They have 9 people watching, so
Ooh.
you're tied with them. And this is like one of the bigger people that think he's making a huge impact on intelligent design. So you're keeping up with them. Good.
Yes. I'm keeping up with someone, guys. I'm really glad that the Godless Iowan's done with his live stream, because the last few times that we've had live streams, we started at the same time. It's like, oh man, now he's not going to be here, and I miss
There's only
him.
so much time to go around, right?
Yeah, there is, and I was bummed like one night, and I felt bad for being bummed because I was interviewing someone, but I'm just like, oh no, Steve McRae's on Godless Iowan's channel with Atheist Justin, and then I listened to the whole video later, and I was like, shit, I wanted to be in on that discussion. That was a really good one.
Well,
And
I mean, I'll watch
earlier,
Shannon's
but it was a
later,
good one.
so I'm fine with that. I mean, I think certain things you can watch after the fact just as easy as live. Some things I prefer live. But did you like the discussion I had with God is Not Good on God is Live? Because I really enjoyed that. I'm not going to front.
Yeah,
it was good.
Those are my favorite kind of Steve discussions. Is the philosophical ones. So
I've been trying to do more of those on my channel. Like I wanted to start doing more philosophical arguments. I got to do the logical problem of evil, and I think it got well received. Even though one person decided to try to rip it apart on their channel and strawman much of it, and I don't think really understood the difference between logical and evidential. But whatever, it is what it is.
And I'd like to do another live stream with you at some point, or join another one with you, and have a discussion like that. But have more than just you and I on it. Because from what I've heard so far, I'm mostly going to agree with you. So that's not going to be much fun for a lot of people.
Ahead of most people then. Yeah. I've been swaying a lot of people over to my side because I believe that the argumentation that I have is good. These are not my arguments, right? People think, well, Steve's argument is this. Well, yeah, but my argument is nothing really unique. I mean, I do have unique arguments. Don't get me wrong. I post them in the Great Debate community. I post them on my blog. And I do run a lot of what I think to be unique arguments because I've heard so many different arguments. I want to come up with my own, right? I want to see what flies. And those I find to be the most interesting ones because I'm like, hey, let me run this by you. I was thinking about this the other night. Let me run this by you. And I find those to be very fun because I get input on it from various things. I go, did I fuck up? Does that make sense? Or, no, that's a good point.
Right. And I mean, like, there's nothing really new under philosophy, but like the way that you can construct your arguments is something that's fun and interesting, and you can get creative by what philosophies you're kind of putting together and what follows really. So I like those kind of conversations.
Yeah, people in the live chat like Steve swayed me over. I appreciate that. Look at again, if people want to attack my arguments and things that I say, that's fine. I think a lot of people probably make it personal, but I think a lot of people have knee-jerk reactions because they're so ingrained with an ideological aspect when they come on YouTube and they watch all these videos and they go, oh, this is the talking point. This is what I'm supposed to say if somebody says this. And they don't really think about what the person's actually saying. And I find it to be quite notable. Even just like the other day, I was on the Atheist Experience Facebook forum, right? And I know a lot of those people, and I enjoy talking to them, but a couple of them don't know who I am, and so I would put like a blog post or something, and I would get people like 30 seconds later, right, responding, and they didn't read the blog, they didn't read anything I wrote because it's just like too quick, and they'd be like, "Well, where's your evidence for this?" I'm like, what the fuck are you even talking about? I was like, did you even read what I wrote? Did you understand what I was trying to argue? That I was trying to, like, for example, one post was, I was trying to show that if you want to be a strong atheist, meaning a positive atheist that believes ontologically in no gods, here's some tips on having a justificatory position for it, how to justify that position. And this one guy, like, for days now has been going, you still have never showed evidence for your God. I'm like, I'm not a fucking theist, you idiot. If I post nothing to do with this, what the hell is wrong with you? It just fucking drives me crazy because this person is just going on pure superficial, knee-jerk reaction, right? He's like an automaton. He's clearly not listening. He's clearly not reading anything. He's clearly not understanding a word that I'm saying. But he's just like, well, you haven't demonstrated God doesn't exist to be this, or God this, or that does exist. And I was like, you're all over the place, man. I'm not trying to demonstrate God does not exist by advocating a strong atheist position. If you want to do that, I'm showing somebody how to justify holding a strong atheist position. Different thing altogether, right? It's an epistemic justification. Yes. So I was like, wow, this is just hilarious. Go check it out. It's really strange.
Do you have a link for it?
I do, matter of fact, because the guy just messaged me. But you have to apply to join that group, obviously.
Okay.
But yeah, one sec. I'll put it in your video description here.
Cool.
Yeah, it's just the Atheist Experience. I think why you're doing that. Oh, it's called Atheist Experience. Oh, wait, that's not the right one. I'll find it while you're talking.
That's cool. Yeah. And like, I've only had a few instances like that because I don't leave a whole ton of comments, but I posted something on my Facebook just a few months ago after the Florida school shooting, and it was a video, and I said, hey, if you guys will watch this, and then go ahead and like leave me your comments or like say whatever you want, but like please watch this video first or whatever. And I noted that it was 11 minutes long, and then I started getting comments at like 8 or 9 minutes. I'm like, you bitches. So I'm like, fine.
You make a 20-minute video and your first comments in the first 30 seconds going, God, you're wrong. It's like,
like you asses.
I don't mind if somebody says first, whatever, you know, but when somebody says, yeah, well, you're just totally fucked up on this one, I'm like, it literally got uploaded 30 seconds ago.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, okay, well, now I'm not going to be nice to you. I'm just gonna lay into you now.
I put the comment in the group chat there, so you want to link that later, so that you see this guy. His name's Scott, and you can just see me going back and forth with him because the guy's clearly not understanding what I'm saying. I even said, because he said none of those things are evidence that gods don't exist, and I said they're not supposed to be evidence gods don't exist. They're epistemic justifications. Like I said, dude, you are woefully out of your depths here, and you clearly don't understand this post at all. You know?
Yeah, and it's goofy, and I just commented on Genetically Modified Skeptics' like newest video with the porch atheists and anti-theists and the anti-theist video that he just did. So I just said that, hey, this is a nice video, and I appreciate that someone's trying to help like bridge that gap of communication. And someone jumped on and said, wrong, no. This was an awful video. This guy had no idea what he's talking about. Yada, yada. I'm like, okay. Well, then what am I missing? And he just like, I don't remember exactly what he said. He's like, no, well, this is just stupid. You don't understand. And you need to grow up. And it was like, look, trash talking's not going to convince me that I'm wrong. Please, whatever. And then he's like, oh, I'm sorry. Did I hurt the troll's feeling? I'm like, what are you talking about?
I get it. I've seen it. I've lived it. I understand. I have empathy. I deal with that kind of crap all the freaking time. And even some of my own stuff where I recognize the names. I have a handful of detractors that like the whole why I'm agnostic and not atheist thing. And, you know, even then they straw man the shit out of me. And eventually I just stopped talking to them. And some of them I had to block because I won't want to look at. You can disagree with me. You start straw manning me, I'm not going to waste my time with you because it takes 10 times the amount of effort to dispel your freaking effigy that you built rather than listening to fucking what I'm saying.
Right. It's very aggravating. And there's so many people to talk to online who will actually have a decent conversation with you, even if they don't agree with you. So like, why waste your time with someone like that?
And I spend hours online talking to people. People don't realize how much effort it does take to maintain multiple channels because you're always trying to find topics. You're always trying to find guests. You're always engaging with people. And you're always responding to people. I have people messaging me throughout the day, all day long. Hey, I got a suggestion for your show. Hey, I want to talk to you about this. Hey, what do you think about this? And I love that. Don't get me wrong. It is taxing. It is very taxing. I'm not going to front. I mean, even before we started, I got a phone call from somebody, and that was somebody, you know, a great friend of mine who wanted to give me some suggestions. And I'm like, okay, great. But it's all day long. I'm inundated with messages, and I try to respond to most of them. I try to look at every comment on my videos, on the Non Sequitur Show, on the Great Debate Community channels. I try to read most of them. It takes a lot of time. So if somebody is just going to strawman me, I'm not going to waste any of my time with them because I got other things I can do. And talk to people that won't waste my time by strawmanning me and that would actually listen to the argument or what I'm saying, right?
Right. And I think that's something that I really wanted to get into for this series that I'm doing now, is because I don't know the details on every Christian religion, or even like the big ones, obviously. So I'm trying to give people content to where they can go and watch this episode of Atheist Flashbacks or something. Like, what do Mormons actually think, or what do Baptists think, what do Catholics think, instead of going into an argument with one of these religious people and having no idea what they actually believe, just like what they do to us most of the time. It's like, oh, you guys are all nihilists, or you guys have never read the Bible. It really helps both sides to like just have us
drive you nuts?
Yes, it does.
I mean, look, there's a couple of rules that I have, and maybe I should codify them one of these days. I think I actually will. And one of the things is I really can't stand is people telling me what my positions are. And so when I say, hey, Mac, you're an atheist, therefore you must be a nihilist, it's like, fuck off. It's like no, you don't have to be the same thing. So yeah, oh, a materialist. You must be a materialist. No, you don't. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
You're good.
That's
Yeah.
who's calling me.
So back to Mormonism, because from what I've heard, Mormons get a lot. Like, people really don't understand what they believe. Like just like G-Man calling them not Christians. So I'll run through a little bit quicker on certain topics in the Bible, and maybe you can give me answers on like a yay or nay, or how they interpret anything. So last one we did was the Exodus.
Okay.
And then after that, anything in Ezekiel that you can recall or know of?
Well, I mean, I remember from Ezekiel, they had like the chariot, the wheel in the wheel. He had a dream. Right.
Yeah.
And see, the way I don't know how the Mormons look at that kind of stuff. I went to Bible study and I went to scripture chasing, but they never really got into some of the details of how to interpret certain things. And most of it was based upon either the New Testament, or they really got into Proverbs and that kind of stuff. But I mean, like the dream stuff, I think people did have dreams, but I think they took these dreams to be manifestations of some kind of divine message, right, or angelic message. I lucid dream. I know a few people that lucid dream regularly. I have all my life. I'm able to self-induce what's called a self-induction. Haven't been able to do some in quite some time, but I know that experience. So I think lucid dreaming is a very, very, very real.
Mm-hmm.
It exists. I'm absolutely convinced of it because I've done it hundreds of times, right? I mean, now, do I think it's out of body experience? No. Right? I don't think that. I'm not a dualist. I think this is all in your brain, but the mind can do amazing things.
Absolutely.
But if I think rationally, if I've had these experiences, which I can only go by my experiences, people can say, "Oh, Steve, you're full of shit. You never had the experiences." Okay, great. What am I going to do? You don't have to believe me unless you've experienced it yourself. You're more likely to. But I think, well, back then they had to have these experiences as well. They're just as human as I am, and because they're so vivid, because they're so real, I could see somebody 2,000 years ago going, yeah, this is a message from a deity, or this is a angelic vision, or I'm in a different reality. I mean, I don't think that's a far-fetched way to look at things, is it?
No, absolutely not. And touching on that, I'd like to point out, and I keep shaking the table. I'd like to point out that I think, because back then, really any time before like the 1800s, we didn't have like entertainment like we do now. They had religion and they had hobbies. I don't know what all anyone's hobbies would be in any kind of culture, really. But right now we have superheroes. We have favorite TV shows. We have things to get involved with and make hobbies out of and think about all day. And like the entertainment aspect of things. But like Romans had so many gods and deities. And I feel like that was a thought that crossed my mind when I was a Christian. It's just like, what if Romans had their gods and it was kind of like we have our superheroes? It was like a fun narrative to think about, more or less. And then I thought, well, what if that's kind of like the Christian God too? Like, what if that's my God? Well, what if it was just a fun story? And then I like threw it away pretty quick. But I don't think it's so far-fetched. Like, back then, religion was so big because you didn't have anything else really distracting you so much. Like it was a very big aspect of life because there
Huge.
was less to get in the way of it. So when you're saying that people could probably lucid dream back then, like more people than you could do this, anyone who would obsess over something like that would I would think would definitely lucid dream about their
Yeah.
deity, no matter what the deity was, because it was such a huge aspect of their life. I mean, I'm not sure if you've ever dreamed of being an X-Men, but I don't think that's very far-fetched
No,
either,
not really.
But yeah, I think that's definitely.
I mean, I've flown in lucid dreams many times.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I mean, as a matter of fact, one of the there's certain things you do for a lucidity check, and one of the things is jump up, and if you fall down really slow or you don't fall down, you're in a lucid dream, which I always thought was funny because, yeah, that works if you're in a lucid dream, but if you're not, you look like an idiot, right?
Yeah,
it's not the best check to do in a lucid dream, but I do notice this, and answer me that. I hate to get off topic again. I know you want to talk about Mormonism, and I know we're running out of time. But I enjoy free-flowing organic conversations for this very reason. They go tangentially, and I love that. But have you ever thought about this? Why is it that light switches don't freaking work in lucid dreams most of the time? It's bizarre.
I see what
it's something that just seems to be ubiquitous among lucid dreamers, that light switches don't work. And before I even kind of even research lucid dreams, that's always been the case. Light switches, you turn it on, it's dark still. It's like, fuck. Then you're in a lucid dream. But
now everyone's going to think I'm a weirdo for saying this, but most of the people in the community probably should think I'm a weirdo already. So I'm going to say that I've never had that problem during a lucid dream or any dream. I don't think I've ever flipped a light switch that I can remember, but toilets never ever work. Half the time they're not even like real toilets. Yeah, I actually had a dream last night. Like I had to go to the bathroom when I was sleeping, I think, and just like not like I either can't find one or it's not a normal toilet. It's like it's a lazy boy, and you just feel awkward trying to go to the bathroom on a lazy boy. It's but yeah, it's always toilets for me. Odd one. There you go.
Wow. I don't think I've ever checked that out before. So you need to check out a light switch next time you lucid dream, and I'll find a toilet. This is the bizarrest conversation I've ever had in my life. And we'll see if they work.
Yeah, it's strange. And then I won't tell you what I won't tell you what mine actually really looked like yet, and you can tell me what your mind comes up with next time.
Yeah, I'll be sure to give you details. I never thought I'd ever have that conversation. I'll look for a toilet in a lucid dream. Okay. The question we had the other day was, is everything morally inert in a lucid dream? Do you have any moral obligations? And I'm like, no. And I actually had somebody that was really adamant against that. And when I'm asking them for details under what moral framework, under what normative ethical theory thinks that you have a moral obligation in a lucid dream, they didn't supply any. And I'm like, okay, then. I mean, you can't suddenly say something is morally objectionable and that provide a moral, normal a normative ethical framework by which to say this is why it's immoral. I'm sorry, you can't do anything immoral in a dream. You're in a dream state. It's just
right.
You have no moral obligation to a figment of your own imagination.
Right. That would be amoral, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I put it under amoral. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah. Definitely a fun conversation. We need to touch back on that and just another random live stream.
I would love that.
Be fun. Okay, so I know we need to wrap up soon. So again, I'm going to breeze through a little bit. So going back to Sodom and Gomorrah and the stairway to heaven. What do Mormons believe on that?
Well, okay, I can't speak for what they believe on that because I don't know. But I can tell you this: the Mormon families I dealt with would have bought that to be evil or satanic of some kind, because I remember growing up, like even playing Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, right? That was evil. Certain songs were evil, and I don't mean like what you would think like a hardcore evangelistic or Pentecostal type evil. Those guys are even way out there. But they were like don't listen to this stuff. Don't play D&D because it's a cultish kind of thing.
Mhm.
And the Stairway to Heaven, yeah, Led Zeppelin. I've always liked Led Zeppelin. That was something that they frowned upon, right? Because I happen to like growing up AC/DC, Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, but that was all considered to be occult music to them. And I'm not
Gotcha.
giving up my Black Sabbath. Kiss my ass.
Okay, and then going more towards New Testament, because I know that you said that the Garden of Eden is supposed to be. Did you say in Missouri?
Yeah, in is it Jacksonville, Missouri?
I think that's what you said.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I think I've heard that that's where Jesus is supposed to come back to in the end times.
It's like Adam Mahai or something, the land of the valley of something that he's supposed to come back in. And I don't see how that actually was Jacksonville, Missouri, and I don't see how that actually could be the case. It just makes no sense for me. But he's supposed to return back to this valley, Adam Mahai or something. I'm not fluent in LDS literature, so
It's all right.
I feel bad because it's been so many years since I looked into this stuff.
Mhm.
But yeah, they do believe that Jesus is supposed to come back to this continent, right? Because he had visited. The Book of Mormon is literally not just the tribes coming over, but Jesus actually visiting these tribes. And I think during the 3 days that he was dead and supposedly witnessing to souls in Hades, he also came over to the Americas to witness to them as well. I think that's the narrative.
America's so special.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what's funny? I think that I think it was I can't remember who said it. I can picture it in my head, but he said that like Mormonism is like the most definitive American religion, and or something along those lines. And it was oh my goodness, I can't remember who said it, but that is true because Jesus actually came over to the Americans, which is a very naturalistic or nationalistic mentality, right? That we are some kind of favored nation, and even in the LDS theology, American is a favored nation. The Constitution was supposedly divinely inspired, right? So,
Right. Yeah. 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 And it makes sense in that way, I think. But yeah. So, is there anything New Testament like Mark, Matthew, Luke, that Mormons believe kind of differently than other Baptists, Catholics?
No, the gospel stories is kind of the same. They do believe that Jesus was in the Garden of Gethsemane and basically took the weight of the world to himself and bled from every pore. That's when he actually, did the more of a redeeming thing for humanity, that he took upon all the world's sins. But they also believe that that God himself, the Father, was one time a man and that lived, a very righteous life and then progressed through the stages of godhood. Which, by the way, and I know people think this is weird, but the LDS theology to me is not really that weird. I mean, if you have to me, it's like, well, you know what? It's no more weird than any other theology. It's just a different approach to things. And saying that God could have been one time a man and that progressed through different stages and became exalted, I don't find that any more crazy than any other thing out there. And if you're going to believe in some religion,
It's like Hercules.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that far fetched to me per se. I don't think it happened, right? But I mean, saying that if you're going to criticize religions on the extremism, well, how does that compare to like Xenu, who blew up freaking 75 million souls, volcanoes with atomic bombs, something like that, billions of years ago? It's like, come on, let's put something in perspective, right?
Yeah, yeah. I had to bring up Xenu. Real quick, checking the live chat. If anyone has questions, please go ahead and ask them now because I think we're about done. I only have a few more questions for Steve myself. Piggle said he's out. So bye, Piggle, but I think we missed him.
Piggle's awesome.
Next question I have for you is Jesus' last words. I think a lot of religions or religious groups look at his last words differently. So why did he say, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani? My God, why hast thou forsaken me?
Yeah, that the way, and this I do know because I do remember actually very specifically a friend of mine father on when he said Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani or whatever it is means. They do translate that as what my God, why for hast thou forsaken me? Because Jesus wanted the cup passed from his lips, and basically was telling God, I don't want to do this any longer. Yeah, that's how the Mormons look at it.
Okay. Do they have anything that, or trying to word it correctly, how do they interpret, not just straight interpret it, but what does it mean that he is saying that?
Well, that's what I think. The way I inferred from it was that again, I mean, the weight of the world was carried on him, and he wanted to like not be that person any longer, to carry that weight. But I don't. The problem I have with that is if there's some kind of hypostantiation between God, the Father, and the Son, and they're coextensive, and whatever terminology you want to use, then I don't know how Christ would even have a choice in the matter, right? I mean,
Right.
I don't know how he would even be able to say, I don't want to do this any longer, kind of thing, colloquially speaking, because why, why would he say, God, why have you forsaken me, when he knows God can't forsake him?
Right.
I mean, they're intrinsically linked to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So I've never been a Trinitarian. I never got the concept of the Trinity. And I know that the Mormons, they don't really accept the Trinity per se, but what they do accept is called a Godhead, which is the God, the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Ghost, meaning they're one in purpose, but they're three separate entities, right? And the Trinity version is they're literally one God. And the Mormon, they call it the one Godhead. So they're part of one Godhead, but they're three distinct personages unto themselves with one purpose.
Right. Right. Okay. And then, do Mormons believe in rapture? No.
I've never heard any Mormons talking about rapture.
Okay, but they do believe that Christ is coming back. But then, is it that just the end?
No, there's like a 1,000 years where Satan gets loosed for a little season, and then final judgment. That narrative.
Okay. Now, does Satan get let loose while Jesus is here?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure the theocracy stand. I know they're supposed to be coming out of theocracy, where Jesus is like the leader, but I know that the LDS do believe that the bonds of Satan are let loose. He's let loose from hell. He gets to mess with people for 1,000 years for whatever reason, and then gets annihilated basically.
Okay. All right, and then more political concerns, rights. Where do Mormons lie? Kind of like agree, strongly agree, neutral, whatever. Where do they lie on abortion?
Oh, they're very much anti-abortion.
Okay, and gay rights?
Very much. Well, see, it's hard to say a church is against gay rights, right? But they are against gay marriage. I think they're a very homophobic church. I know a lot of people that were LDS that were gay, that later on, that they have a hard time reconciling that. And the fact that they gave money to the Evergreen Project to try to think there was some way you can change somebody's sexual proclivity is just nonsensical. It's not scientific. It's dangerous. It causes emotional distress. It causes very high suicidal rates. I can't support any of that. And so if God was telling them to do this stuff, God's wrong. And I do have my own moral framework, right? And I can't support that. I don't see, and I've never talked to any of my Mormon friends about that. I've never, asked them, how do you reconcile this? Because my Mormon friends are great people, wonderful, wonderful people.
Yeah.
But I've never asked them how they reconcile that. Maybe I should. I'll ask my one friend. He's probably a little more open to talk about it than another. But I think it makes no sense to me that a loving deity would want people to somehow, pray, as somebody mentioned, like pray the gay away. It doesn't work,
No.
Luckily, I'm fortunate. I mean, I've been straight all my life, so I can't even draw upon what it must be like for somebody to be in a religion. It doesn't even have to be Mormonism. I mean, like Kyle, he was raised, he had some religion, and he had to suppress being gay, and I couldn't even imagine what that'd be like. It'd be horrible.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, because he was independent Baptist.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah. that would have been difficult to go through as someone who's gay in a religion like that. And I can't imagine.
It. No.
So another one is women's rights. How do they see women playing their roles in life?
Well, I mean, the LDS Church is very old-fashioned. That's true. I mean, they do put women in more of a subservient type position. That I can see. But they also put them on an equal footing as far as the man is nothing without the woman. So, they treat women with respect, utmost respect. They will protect, women, and that I've never had. I never thought that any Mormon was ever sexist. Now I know a lot of people say, well, Mormons can't, Mormon women can't hold the priesthood. Okay, so what? That's not. That doesn't mean they're sexist, right? It just means that in their faith, that's the men traditionally has always held the priesthood, right? Even in the biblical times. If somebody think that's sexist, well, whatever. I mean, that's the religion, right? I mean, as long as they're not advocating that women are second-class citizens, as long as they're not advocating that violence against women, or like right now they're having discussion on Shannon's Q's channel that can you have marital rape, or can if you get married, do you have an obligation to have sex, or can you deny your partner that? Yeah, I've never really heard Mormons really talk about that much. I don't think I've had any of them agree with that. That would make no sense to me. I do stand with Shannon on that. Her position is that there is such thing as marital rape. You are under no moral obligation when you get married to have relationships with your partner. And there are a lot of religions out there that do believe that, though, right? They do believe that you can't have marital rape, and I just think that's disgusting, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the FLDS, by the way. The FLDS is the more foundationalist type Latter-day Saints, and they are a lot more in that whole women are second-class citizens to men kind of thing. They're much more to extreme. So
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to check the live chat real quick, see if we had any questions. Come back down. God Osiah win. Ask Steve if he will turn from his cultist Mormon beliefs and embrace the one true faith of Pentecostalism. Yes, everyone this.
Yeah, coming from the ex-Pentecostal.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. Look, I do disagree with the word cult applied to Mormonism. I do not consider Mormonism a cult in any way, shape, or form. I'm 100% against the use of the word cult with Mormonism, and I know other people would totally disagree with me. Telltale and Lloyd and any of those guys, they call everybody a cult. Being somebody who's that was involved in the church, I never saw any more culture than any other religion. I think that if you're going to call Mormons a cult, then all religion is a cult. I mean, there's nothing more strange about Mormonism than there is any other church for the most part. To me, cult means a very specific thing. Jim Jones, Heaven's Gate, those kind of things. Even Ken Hovind, his cult. Those are cults, right? I'm fine with that. But just to claim that a religion, just because they have unorthodox beliefs, is a cult, okay, whatever. From an orthodoxical standpoint, everything is a cult then, because if you don't subscribe to the actual orthodoxy of the original Nicene Creed and you're heterodoxical, then you're a cult by that standard. But so what? That to me it just means nothing at that point. And I think that the word cult, because it has some very negative connotations, and even though people want to say, well, you can have positive cults like cult of personality, fine. But there's still that negative stereotype on cults, and they should be, because I think cults is a negative term, and it should be used as a negative term. It should be a pejorative for people for certain things like Heaven's Gate that I don't see at all when it comes to like Mormonism, and even to some extreme Jehovah's Witness. I mean, I think Jehovah's Witness is cultish, but I'm not comfortable calling them a cult, right? So,
I've heard some ex-Jehovah's Witnesses call the Jehovah's Witnesses more of an organization than a cult.
Yeah, but you got to remember, the Jehovah's Witnesses put a lot more time in it. Even Mormons spend a lot of time in it. Don't get me wrong, but nothing like the Jehovah's Witnesses. They even have to keep track of their time.
Yes,
right. They are a lot more indoctrinated than anything I've ever seen. My brother was Jehovah's Witness, but I've never seen anything compared to two things: Jehovah's Witness and Scientology. Way higher indoctrination levels than anything I've ever seen from Mormonism.
You,
by far.
you said your brother was a Jehovah's Witness. Is he still?
Yeah. No, he's
Yeah.
passed away.
Oh,
He died of cancer
Gotcha.
several years ago. But you know what's funny? You know, he didn't really was that active in the Jehovah's Witness, so I never really had a chance to really talk to him about it. But he did manage to have chemotherapy, which extended his life 10 years. And so when you have people out there advocating for this vitamin B17 bullshit and don't have chemo, this is one of the reasons I take it personally. I'm like, tell him to fuck off, because, you know, my brother would have died 10 years earlier had he not had, you know, chemotherapy and radiation therapy and all that. So I kind of take it personally when people say, oh, well, you don't have chemotherapy, you know, just eat some fucking apricot seeds and you'll be fine. You know, I really am anti pseudoscience when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I agree. And first, I'm very sorry to hear that. But yeah, I agree, because I think my mom's kind of leaning more towards pseudoscience as she's getting older, but she has so many medical problems, just a plethora of medical problems. And I hate to see her look at so many alternative medications or like just pseudoscience answers, because there's just so many things that can just go wrong with her. And I see why she does it, though, because there's been so many hospitals and doctors that have actually screwed her over, or like diagnosed her wrong, or given her the wrong medication, or she's like given them a list of like what she's allergic to, and they give it to her anyways, and she ends up with rashes, and then she's in longer or whatever. So like they've like kind of ruined her trust in them, but still I don't think it's the right way to go. So, but I definitely see what you mean. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, these people, I understand the need for hope for some people. I get that, but the alternative medicine has never been a way to go, because we know historically there are snake oil salesmen, and they're everywhere, and they will latch onto you. They will try to convince you that they have a cure when they don't. And people that are desperate, it's no more despicable to me by people taking, you know, people going after the people that are desperate for cures as it is for like going after old people, right? Because that's elderly abuse. And I think there should be something for like sick abuse, people that are in a very sickly state. There should be some protections about people going after them and taking advantage of that, because they are desperate.
Yeah, they absolutely are. And like, I just hate like seeing people taking advantage of people.
Me too.
So, and I think most people do, like mostly normal people should not like that, but people do it anyways
nowadays, right? And that's one thing I do like about these channels, and I do like about our community, is I think we have a lot of people that are more in the norm, and you know, and as you branch out, you get more of the extremes. But I do see more of a congealing between people like us that are more centrist, are more moderate, are more rational thinking people, and that I think needs to be strengthened. I think that's what has made this new type of skepticism and free thought and atheist and agnostic and all that kind of stuff far more stronger than it was a few years ago, when they tried these types of skeptic and atheism plus and blah blah blah. They all shot themselves, because they all, I think, went from being that moderate type group to fringe. And I hope that doesn't happen with the groups that we have now.
Yeah, I think there's enough of us who are willing to call each other out on things, to where we keep each other straight.
Yes.
So I appreciate that.
There's a lot of internal assessment. Yes. And not in a bad way. I mean, there's ways of calling people out, and I've had to adjust, you know, how I do certain things. I don't make videos calling people out from the group, from the great big community, for the skeptic group, saying, oh, look, you made this video and you're a fucking idiot. I don't ever do that, right? I may leave a comment saying, hey, I think your video, and you made this error, or whatever. But I think we all kind of do that, and I think that's kind of a good way of approaching it. And yeah, sometimes I get a little heavy-handed. I admit that. I'm trying to back off that a little bit. But yeah, if people say, hey, Steve, I think you're wrong on this, let me explain why, I'm down to listen for that. I look forward to hearing, well, why am I wrong on that? And it's not just opinion. Like somebody says, well, I think, you know, you're wrong, it is a cult. Okay, that's his personal opinion, right? Yeah. There's no objective standard by which you're going to measure a cult, unless you say, well, I'm adopting these criteria to be a cult. Well, okay, well, that's not objective anyways. But,
right.
So, but if you say, hey, Steve, And one plus, you're saying 1 + 1 = 2. I think 1 + 1 = 3. Let me, that's something objective we can kind of look at, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and I would rather make an apology and make a correction on every single one of my videos, just like one every time, because that helps my channel grow. That means people watching my channel, and I get smarter if people are correcting me on objective things. That's fine.
I do it all the time when people say, "Hey, Steve, you got this wrong." I'm like, "Oh, shit. Okay, you're right."
Yeah, that's fine.
I have no problems with that whatsoever. It happens quite frequently.
Yeah, there's no problem with that. I had another question here. I'm not sure if it was directly aimed towards you, but I didn't want to skip it just if it was. It was from Reese. Where do the FLS or FLDS get that attitude from?
Well, they live the FLDS live in a very, very remote area. It's called Hilldale, Utah, which is right on the border of another city of Arizona and Colorado City. And I may have got those confused, but Colorado City and Hilldale are basically the same place, and they're right on the border between Arizona and Colorado, and they're very, very isolated, very exclusionary. The leader of that particular sect, actually, I think his name was Warren Jessup. He just recently got put in prison, if I'm not mistaken. But they're a very, very fringe group. The Mormons don't associate with them as far as like saying they're part of Mormonism. They've all been considered to be apostates, but they're practitioners of polygamy. I think that they do encourage child abuse. I've seen, they have the old time dress that they dress in. It's very 1800-ish, which is fine. I mean, they can dress where you want, but you do recognize them when they're out and about. But they do have this mentality that women can marry very young. Even people as young as like 11 will be married off, and I can't support that in any way, shape, or form, because I don't care what your religious beliefs in. There's certain things that I think are just wrong, and if people want to call that objective morality, that's fine. I have no problem accepting objective morality, even though in that particular case I don't have anything to ground it in. But I'm happy just to say I don't think 11-year-olds should get married.
Right. Right, and usually for me, I still would call that objective morality, but that's still disgusting to me. It doesn't that doesn't make a difference just because if it's I'm sorry, exactly. Not objective but subjective.
It's vile.
Yeah,
I agree.
It's still gross. So that's as long as we can agree on that, and you're not like defending the awful thing.
My daughter turns 13 next month. It would boggle my mind to think she's married. What? It's something that I couldn't even if I tried, I think, contemplate.
Right?
Because she's my baby girl. I mean, and I told her, you have two options when you get older, anyways. You could become a nun or a lesbian or both. That's it. I told her mom that when she was born.
At least you gave her choices.
I give her choices. I'm a good daddy. Yes.
Very good. Cool. Well, if anyone else has a question, speak now, forever hold your peace, because we're about to wrap up. I have work tonight, and I'm sure Steve has other things to do. And
sleep.
Sleep. Yeah, that's probably good. It's not too late where you're at right now. Is it like pushing 10?
No, it's 10, but I do have some other people messaging me, but then I keep it down because my roommates.
Not just as holding which piece. Yes. All right. Cool. Well, I don't have any more Mormon questions for you, but I do very much appreciate you making time to come over to my channel. It's been a pleasure talking to you. It's been a really fun topic.
I love these kind of conversations. My favorite cheese is brie, by the way.
It's what?
Brie.
Brie?
I love brie cheese. Brie on crackers. Oh, but I also like Gouda. I like blue cheese. I like Roquefort. I like Gouda. I mentioned Gouda. I mean, I just like cheese. And I like Monterey Jack. I got mozzarella.
Oh yeah.
But brie, I like brie for some reason.
I've never had. I don't even think I've heard of brie cheese.
Oh, it's and a good brie cheese, not the cheap crap. There's one thing I am frugal as shit because I mean I live off income from strictly from YouTube, so I mean I can't afford to go out and like be, you know, two thing. But brie, if I get brie, I will pay a little bit more because I think it's a better cheese. But spread that stuff some on a good cracker. Ah, like Triscuits. I love Triscuits. With
Oh yeah.
ever try what is it, lemongrass Triscuits?
No, never have. I see them there because I stock like
So good.
Keebler and Townhouse stuff, and it's right beside them. But yeah, I
So
like
good.
the fire roasted tomato one.
Fire roasted tomato is good, but trust me, if anybody goes out and tries a lemongrass Triscuits, come back and tell me if you don't think those are the best damn freaking things Triscuits there are. They're just yum. They're delicious.
Well, if I find some brie cheese, I'll grab that, and then
There you
I'll
go.
go grab those Triscuits, and I will definitely let you know because I do like a good cheese and cracker night.
Damn right.
Is it going to go with my brandy and root beer?
Yeah, everything goes with brandy and root beer. I haven't tried brandy root beer actually. I like brandy, but
I told you to though.
You did tell me, and I have not tried it yet. You know what? I'm going to pick up some brandy in the next couple of days. I usually mix it with coffee, but I will definitely mix it with root beer. Does it give it a nice kick?
Yeah. And I use the vanilla brandy. I think it's with the B&Js or whatever.
Yeah, Brothers and James.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get the Christian Brothers.
Okay. Yeah. But the one I use is pretty smooth, and it mixes with the root beer really well.
I'm definitely going to be trying that.
Awesome. Let me know if you
Reese is
like
like, glad we stayed on topic. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll get off topic a lot. That's all right.
Thanks,
Cool.
Mac. I'm very honored that you had me on. I'm thrilled when anybody asks me to come on talk about any of this stuff. It's hard to believe how we portray ourselves in YouTube and people actually want to listen. Sometimes I'm still not. I haven't processed that yet, even though I've been on YouTube a long time, because I've always listened to other people, right? I mean, I've known a lot of these YouTubers for a long time, and now it's like we're one big collective community, and I think that's amazing. I think we have a lot of good content creators, a lot of up and comers, and I like the camaraderie that's been going on. It's kind of what I wanted from the Great Debate community from the beginning, but unfortunately, because of internal problems, it didn't really come to fruition. But now with the skeptic community, that is what I envisioned for the Great Debate community. Exactly what they're doing. So it's a like mindset. These people have the same mindset that I do, envisioning how to promote channels, how to put forth a good message, how to have communication, how to have dialogue, how to have interlocutors come, and have a conversation. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's really cool. I really appreciate being like a part of this community. It's really cool. Like you said, like everyone helps promote each other, and we all correct each other, and it's really, really great. It's a really great group to be in. Again, thank you for being on. If anyone has not noticed, I'm at 149 subscribers now, so I'm waiting for that last one. So if I see that tonight, thank you for subbing, and
we got to get you up there. We definitely got to get you. I'll have you on my show or something, because we got to get you up to like at least 500 here.
That'd be fun. Once I told Shannon if I get up to 500 or something, then I'll do an atheist flashback. I'll have someone interview me. So,
well, you do it like Mr. Atheist in black eyeliner though.
There we go. I'd look good. No, but all right. Again, thank you for coming on, Steve. Thank you, live chat, for being here and watching. I'm not sure if Shannon's still live, but if she is, go check out Shannon Q. And everyone, have a good night. See you later.
Shalom.
Shalom.